Today we are taking a look at an exciting new shoe from the French brand Salomon, and it is their DRX DEFY GRVL. Now they're kind of pitching this shoe to be the sort of Swiss Army knife of running shoes. It's designed to take you from the roads and pavements of an inner city all the way to sort of fire tracks, gravel paths in that trail running environment. So it's what I'd sort of call a crossover running shoe, and it's got some pretty cool stuff going on. So let's dive into the video. I'm going to give you a few facts and figures about these new running shoes, and then I'm going to be lacing them up and taking them out for their first run. But definitely stay tuned till later in the video, because where we're testing these out is pretty exciting. Welcome back folks, hope you are all fit and well out there and enjoying your running. I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run4Adventure. Now if it's your first time at the channel, thanks for tuning in, it's really appreciated and I hope you enjoyed today's video. But let's give you a few facts and figures first. So the new DRX DEFY GRVL retails here in the UK for a pretty reasonable £125. Now I know it's got a bit ridiculous out there in the running shoe world, and how am I saying £125 for a running shoe is reasonable, but it really is compared to some of the crazy prices we're seeing nowadays. Weight wise, my pair in a UK 10 tips the scales at only 266 grams, which was a real surprise, and I think that's a great weight for a running shoe that can handle the roads and some light trails. And we've also got a 34mm stack height on the heel and a 26mm stack height under the forefoot, giving the DRX DEFY a heel offset of 8mm. As far as the construction goes, we've got this lightweight, breathable, engineered mesh upper. I would say we've got a moderate level of padding around the ankle collar and in the heel, and we've got another shoe with just a standard tongue design, so no gusseted tongue, and the design and the fabrics used on the tongue are quite different to what's been used on the upper. So I would say they kind of remind me of, you know, one of those old school string vests, you know, those white string vests people used to wear. But I'm sure it comes down to just trying to give that tongue a little bit more breathability. And then finishing up, we've got some overlays around those lace eyelets, and we've got overlays running all the way down the length of the medial and lateral side of the shoe. They do actually add quite a bit of sort of stiffness and structure to the upper, so it's going to be interesting to see how they feel on today's run. Moving down to the midsole, and we've got quite a lot going on here. So first up, you get Salomon's high energy returning responsive energy foam in the midsole, so we should get a good level of cushioning on today's run. But you also get their active chassis integrated into that midsole, so very similar to what you get on their Genesis trail running shoes. So we're kind of sunk down into these guide rails on the inside and the outside of the shoe, and they're just in there to give the runner a little bit of guidance. So the new DRX DEFY GRVL should feel pretty stable underfoot. And then flipping them over to reveal a good helping of Salomon's Contigrip rubber on the outsole, and we've got this shallow lug design that's actually been inspired by the tread pattern off a gravel bike tyre. So this outsole should be able to handle that road environment, but then that shallow lug should give you a little bit more traction when you cross over to light trails, so things like fire roads, gravel paths. Obviously it's not a shoe that's been designed to handle wet, muddy UK conditions, so I think if you did head out, you would struggle for traction if you were running the shoe in the mud. So there you have it folks, Salomon's latest crossover running shoe, the DRX DEFY GRVL. So I've given you a few facts and figures, we've broken down the construction in a bit more detail, so that kind of only leaves one more thing to do. Let's get them on our feet, grab the cameras and take them out for a test run. But we've got a very exciting testing ground today, so without further ado, let's get running. Okay, so you can probably tell that I'm not running at home in Cornwall today. I'm actually in a stunning place called Hemsedal in Norway. So myself and Liga have travelled out because we're going to be running the Fyri Trail 29k, which is actually the Nordic final of the Salomon Golden Trail series. So I personally thought this is the perfect place to test out the new Salomon shoe, and the resort that we're staying at, the Fyri Resort, which the race is based around, has the perfect terrain as well. So we got lots of pathways and tarmac roads, but also lots of gravel trails, and that's what this shoe has been designed for. So we're not going to go too far today. We're going to run about 10k as a test run because the race is tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like I say, 29k, and it's got 1400 meters of elevation. I also wore the shoe to travel over in because I only had carry-on luggage, and I had it on my feet for hours and hours and hours. A flight from Cornwall, driving up from Cornwall, and then a long coach trip out to here, and it was super comfy on my feet. But let's get out on the run. Like I say, we're going to try and hit 10k, see how it handles the tarmac and how it handles the gravel section. So let's get this run done. Okay, so we're a couple of miles down in the run, and I think we've managed to find our way on tomorrow's race route. I think we're actually heading up the descent to the finish line. So I've heard there's a really cool runnable 4k descent all the way down to the finish, so that should be great fun. But, whew, let's stop and walk, because believe it or not, even though we were out in Chamonix in Switzerland for so long, I'm still feeling the altitude, even though we're only at about 600 meters. You can still feel it, and it still takes some getting used to. As far as the DRX Defy Gravel goes, let's talk about fit first. So I've actually gone up half a size to a UK 10, like I do in most of my Salomon shoes, and the length is really good in the toe box. So I would say maybe it does size a little bit small. Width in the toe, average. I wouldn't say it's super narrow like some Salomon shoes, but it's also not super wide, so somewhere in the middle. But the fit feels pretty good. Good lockdown around my midfoot, good hold in the heel. The only thing I would say is the ankle collar comes up quite high, so there's been a couple of times on uneven ground where I can feel that ankle collar just sort of catching my ankle bone. But obviously we're only 2 miles into the run, so we don't want to cast any judgments yet. But let's get up this hill and then we'll see where this trail goes. We've made it back down from that climb, and we got a bit more elevation in than I wanted, so we've done sort of 750 feet of climb. But the shoe's performing well. If I'm honest, it's performing better than I thought it would. So that energy foam in the midsole has soaked up all the tarmac, nice and comfortable. I wouldn't call it a deeply cushioned, really soft shoe, but feels comfortable, feels like it's returning a lot of energy. And then when I picked up the trails, the shoe performed even better, I think. So good level of comfort underfoot, good level of protection. I've had a real mixed bag of terrain. So even though it's got a shallow lug on the outsole, gave me a good level of traction on the loose gravelly stuff. I've had some rocky trails and a little bit of light mud to deal with, and the shoe soaked it all up fine. I've had no issues on any of that terrain. So like I said, the shoe is doing a good job so far. I've got a couple of miles of tarmac to soak up, but the battery's getting low because I did some filming before the run on the GoPro. So I'm going to do those couple of miles, get that tarmac done, and then we'll get back to our hotel room and we'll give you guys a full conclusion on how the new DRX Defy Gravel has performed. Okay, I managed just under 6 miles in the end, which is still a pretty good distance for a brand new shoe straight out of the box. And you know, I didn't want to push my legs too hard because we're racing tomorrow, but I'm looking forward to that race even more after today's run, because the trails round here are stunning, and we're actually just going into autumn, so all the leaves are changing colour on the trees, which made it look amazing out there. So I think we're going to have a good run at the Fury Trail 29k tomorrow. When I brought the DRX Defy with me on this trip, I was hoping for some good testing conditions, and I really don't think we could have had better conditions than the roads and the trails around the Fury Resort. So it was like the route had been designed specifically for this shoe. So 2 miles of road and pavement to soak up, and then we had just under 4 miles of light trail gravel paths with the odd short section of light mud. So perfect testing ground, really. The Energy Foam midsole setup handled all the different types of terrain really well. So comfortable on the hard stuff on the tarmac, well connected on the trails, and there was a couple of sections that were really rocky, and the Defy seemed to give me really good levels of underfoot protection. And I don't think there's a rock plate worked into the midsole. I just think it comes down to the depth of cushioning under the forefoot, but that midsole setup worked really well. I also like this active chassis technology worked into the back of the midsole. It really does make the shoe feel nice and planted and nice and stable. And I'm actually running a couple of Salomon shoes that feature a similar system, but this is the first time I really noticed it giving me that nice stable ride on the roads and on the trails. And Outsole performance was a pleasant surprise today, because it seemed to offer good grip and good traction out on the trails, and that's even with this shallow lug. Now obviously the trails were pretty friendly out there today, nothing overly technical, but I did have a couple of short sections of mud, and there was a few times where streams were running across the path, so the rocks were wet, and this Outsole handled it all with ease. Again, it is a shallow lug pattern, so it's not going to handle wet, muddy sort of UK winter conditions, but it definitely performed better than I thought it was going to do on today's run. The only thing that was just a slight negative for me, like I mentioned on the run, was this ankle collar. So there was a couple of times where I was running off camber and I could just feel that ankle collar sort of rubbing against my ankle bone. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't super serious, but I did notice it. And I think a lot of that just comes down to the depth of the shoe. So you do sit down quite deep into that heel, and that means the ankle collar comes up quite high. So I think that's what caused the issues. But you know, feeling the upper now, that collar does feel very soft, so maybe it's just a case of it's a new shoe and it needs a bit more bedding in. But apart from that, the upper fitted my foot shape really well, so good lockdown in the midfoot, nice room for my foot shape in the toe, and good hold in the heel. So all in all, a positive test run today, and I think Salomon have created a nice, lightweight, comfortable crossover shoe, because you know, this shoe weighing in at 266 grams in a UK 10, it really does feel nice and light and nice and responsive on your feet, and all at a pretty reasonable price of £125. So if you're in the market for that sort of one-stop shop running shoe, because a lot of your training runs cross over to sections of road and sections of light trail, then I think the DRX Defy Gravel is worth a closer look. So I've left links for the shoe on the Salomon website in the description below in case you want to find out any more information. And on that note, it brings today's video to an end. Really hope you've enjoyed it, really hope you found it helpful. Don't forget, if you have, to like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already, because it really is a big help to the channel and very much appreciated. But I'm off to get my kit ready for tomorrow's race. We've got a race briefing tonight, and then I think it's going to be a pretty challenging 29 kilometers tomorrow, so wish me luck. But for now guys, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, it's always appreciated. We'll be back here very soon, and as always, stay safe and keep on running. Okay, so we managed just under 6 miles in the end, which still a pretty good shoe for a brand new run straight out the box. No. But let's give you some facts and figures first. So the new DRX Defy Gravel, DRX Defy Gravel, yeah, DRX Defy Gravel, got it.